Spaghetti time.
So, this is the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. They are the first ska-core band, or whatever. They are the real G's of the subgenre, you could say. They were among the first to introduce horns into punk-flavored ska music. They'd be credited with developing, or at least helping to develop, what would become known as third wave ska. First and second wave ska are topics for other videos. The Bosstones went from the Boston hardcore scene to innovators of a popular subgenre, to mainstream darlings, to highly regarded punk rock legends, all the way to careers in Hollywood. They had a storied 40-year career, and it ended in an abrupt, messy way. This is the rise and mighty, mighty fall of the Bosstones. Likes and subs. Let's go. This story starts in Providence, Rhode Island. Dickie Barrett, the self-proclaimed godfather of ska-core, is born. As a kid, his family moved to the Boston area. Around 1983 or so, as a teenager, a friend asked Dickie to be part of the scene. Dickie was all like, I don't exactly know what the scene is, but sure, yeah, okay, cool, sounds good. Dickie started going to hardcore punk rock shows. What does going to shows usually lead to? Starting or joining bands. Probably. Dickie was in the band Impact Unit and later the Cheapskates. They played in the scene alongside another band called Gang Green. Gang Green had a fella named Joe Gittleman plucking the fat strings. He filled in on bass for the Cheapskates a bunch, too. Friendships were made. Dickie asked Joe, you know what's sweet? Two-tone, they both said together in graveled harmony. What's two-tone, you might ask? It's ska music, and it sounds like this.
You've done too much too young.
But mostly, two-tone is dying, and they started a band playing this dying genre, with a few friends from the scene. A dude named Ben Carr, who just kinda danced. Later he was their tour manager, and Tim Burton. No, not that Tim Burton. Another Tim Burton. They called him Johnny Vegas to avoid confusion. When it came time to name the band, they were like, we're from Boston and we're inspired by two-tone. So let's just mix them together. The Boss Tones were born, and they weren't quite mighty mighty yet. They'd adopt the double mighties after learning of a 50s Harvard doo-wop group that went by the same name. 1989. There wasn't much of a ska scene at the time, and the Bosstones weren't exactly setting the world on fire. But indie label Tang saw something in this group of plaid-plastered rude boys. They released Devil's Night Out on the label that year, and it's a revolutionary banger. The people of the late 80s hadn't heard anything like that blended those elements of hardcore with ska, so the record came out to kinda mixed reviews. Too ska for the hardcore purists, and too hardcore for the ska crowd. It slowly began to gain acceptance and then later praise for its tight songwriting and artistic vision. They began to wear full plaid, which started as a joke when Dickie wore a roommate's bathrobe to a gig one time. It caught on and then later evolved into full-on suits, and the suits kept getting better and better the more money that the band was making. 1991. People started picking up what the Bosstones were putting down. So much so, in fact, that Converse, you know, the shoe company, approached the band to do a series of commercials for them. I can't really seem to find these commercials today, but there's this LA Times article where they talk about it briefly, and Dickie talks about it with Toby Morse on Toby's podcast a little bit. There's nothing interesting about these commercials other than the fact that they got such a big spot so early on in their career off of a sound that was just being established. Later in 1991, the Mighty Ones would drop the Where Did You Go EP. The EP has a new version of an old song, a bunch of covers, and the band's first relatively big hit with their catchy earworm single called Where Did You Go? It was the title track.
Where'd you go?
1992, with the band firmly planting its roots in the culture, the record label Tang is all like, it's time to put out another album while driving a Toyota Camry. Probably. More noise and disturbances came out to generally good reception, but at this time in the 90s, it's still peak gloomy grunge times. So, the people of Earth weren't exactly hungry for skacore yet. Hell, the term skacore doesn't even exist yet. The record is tinged in Celtic punk, hardcore, jazz, and obviously two-tone. They kept growing their core audience in the shadows while connecting with them through their 737 newsletter that they were running at the time. In an era before social media, they were industrious enough to know and to understand the value of maintaining strong relationships with your fans. They put Where Did You Go on this record as well, which was actually the smartest decision of the year because it would help get the band big enough to get signed by a major.
I like noise, so I'm living where I am. I like the noise and confusion of a traffic jam. I like the sound of a jet as
1993, the Bosstones coined the term skacore on their major label debut EP called Skacore, the Devil and More. Since they were the first to use the term, Dickie loves to call himself the godfather of skacore. I think that that's just so cute. Very adorable. Later in 1993, they put out a full length called Don't Know How to Party. Their brand of ska was socially conscious and progressive. They sang about racial unity and other social issues. They connected with the progressives and the common people. They were very successful in bringing these different kinds of people together. Punks, hardcore kids, cement layers, and hippies alike. Everybody went to Bosstones shows.
the more you can leave behind. So get about saying, get in your mind. Whole thing is better with the world.
1994, the Bosstones and Mercury partnered up to establish Big Rig Records. Mercury would handle the CDs and Big Rig would deal with the vinyl. They combined forces to release an album called Question the Answers. It was produced by the Butcher Brothers. What do butchers love? Meat. This is unrelated. Probably. This is the year the band picks up steam. They played the Jon Stewart Show, had a feature spot in the Clueless movie, guest hosted MTV's 120 Minutes, started their successful annual festival series called the Hometown Throwdown, and became hometown Boston heroes. Soon, the entire world would catch wind of their antics.
The Bosstones, tremendous. Do you mosh?
Do I mosh?
Do you get in and
1995 and 1996, the band played the main stage at Lollapalooza and took part in the second ever Warped Tour, which they'd do a total of 7 times after that. 1997 is ska's biggest year, arguably. That's of course the year this band hit it big. 14 years after they started the friggin' band. The people on Earth were done being gloomy and now they were craving something to skank to. Let's Face It comes out and shoots to #1 with a bullet to the top of rock and roll charts, thanks to their hit single, The Impression That I Get. It would reach number 27 on the Billboard Top 200 as well. Not bad for a bunch of Boston hardcore kids. They were everywhere in 1997. All over the radio, all over the TV. Appearances on Conan and Saturday Night Live would help solidify them as a quintessential 90s band.
Well, it's so hard to face that in this day and age.
1998, the band continues to ride. They play on Sesame Street and release a live album that was recorded at that year's Hometown Throwdown called Live from the Middle East. They weren't in the actual Middle East. The Middle East is the name of a club that they played at. It's not confusing. Just enjoy it.
Royal, come on, bubble and boss.
The year 2000. A bunch of changes happened at the label. Business. When the dust settled, the company was called Island Def Jam. The band wasn't exactly stoked. They dropped the album Pay Attention, and that didn't really go as well as they hoped. More business stuff happened, yada yada yada. The Bosstones end up leaving Island Def Jam, or whatever. This would be exactly what the band needed creatively, probably. 2002, they released their 7th studio album called A Jackknife to a Swan on Side 1 Dummy Records, and it's their strongest release ever, in my opinion. They are sounding tighter and more focused than ever, and it feels like their gas tank is full and their engines are revving. To be honest, they haven't felt like a legit punk band since about 1994 or so, and this feels like a real return to form. I have nothing but praise for this piece of business. It's got big soul and continues to prove that bands can keep getting better and better 20 years into their run. You Gotta Go is the big song off of it. Take it away, boys.
You gotta go. It's time for you.
2003. That didn't last long. The band announces a hiatus. Womp womp. Oh well, them's the breaks, I guess. If it ended there, maybe the story wouldn't be quite as remarkable. But it's here in the 2000s, things get a little bit interesting and keep getting more and more interesting right up until this day in 2025. The band members move on. Tim Burton and some of the guys get jobs in Hollywood. Still not that Tim Burton. One of the dudes even becomes a pilot. One year into the hiatus, in 2004, we get a big neck-snapping what the hell moment when Dickie, the singer of the legendary ska-core band the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, becomes the announcer on the Jimmy Kimmel Late Night Show. Yeah, Dickie Goes Hollywood, or whatever. He would keep this gig for about 20 years before it ended in controversy. But don't worry, we'll get into all that drama very soon. As he kept dipping his toes in the waters of Hollywood through the mid-2000s, he got this little radio show that lasted about a year or so or whatever. He'd get fired or something. A few years would go by and the band members are just enjoying their new lives. Bass player Joe Gittleman moved to Vermont to become a professor at Lyndon State College. He teaches like 9 different things until one fateful day in 2007 when the singer of Big D and the Kids Table, another Massachusetts band, let it slip in an AP acoustic session that the Bosstones were planning to reunite and do another hometown throwdown. Dickie confirmed the news during a radio interview, and in 2009 they'd drop more music. Pinpoints and Gin Joints came out on Big Rig Records. They're back, and they're still good. This album isn't quite as good or as strong as Jackknife, but it's still a solid album in its own right. Through the rest of the 2010s, the band's lineup was like a revolving door, but they kept touring sporadically when they'd get shows, festivals, that kind of thing, as they all held down respectable day jobs. Then in 2011 came The Magic of Youth. After that, the band would hit the chill button for about 7 more years until in 2018, they dropped another album on Big Rig called While We're At It. As we roll into the 2020s, things are about to get interesting. The entire world went through the gutter in 2020, I don't need to remind you, and in 2021, the Bosstones released an album on Tim Armstrong's label Hellcat called When God Was Great. It's decent, not their best, not their worst, just kind of cool to see them back still rolling after all these years and finding success in other ventures in life. One of those other ventures in life, unfortunately for Dickie, was owned by Disney. Disney had a vaccine policy. Dickie did not comply with that policy. Dickie got fired from his cushy Disney job. At this point in the timeline, the band is still cool with Dickie. That is until Dickie collaborates with Robert F. Kennedy for a song for RFK's Defeat the Mandates rally. RFK isn't exactly the kind of person people in Hollywood or punk rock are chill with. Dickie's voice was loud and public in support of RFK. I don't know if it was optics or whatever, but the band didn't really want to be seen as having any ties to RFK and his wild rhetoric. The band broke up, Dickie doubled down. He started another band with the dude from The Offspring who got let go from his band for similar reasons. Not the RFK reasons, the other reasons. They called that band The Defiant. They're not really my cup of tea, to be honest. They took the Interrupters song that was co-written by Tim Armstrong called Take Back the Power and used it as RFK propaganda with a full-on music video and everything. It's hilarious. Literal propaganda for a politician. It would be sad if it wasn't so funny. And believe me, it's very funny.
What's your plan?
Before I give my conclusion on if Dickie ruined the legacy of the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, I might as well power rank their albums for you. 11, Pinpoints and Gin Joints. 10, Pay Attention. 9, When God Was Great. 8, While We're At It. 7, Don't Know How to Party. 6, The Magic of Youth. 5, More Noise and Other Disturbances. Number 4, Questions and Answers. Top 3 time, coming in at number 3, Let's Face It. Coming in at number 2, their very first LP, Devil's Night Out. And coming in at number 1, Jackknife Swan. Okay, and now for my conclusion.
You know, these are actually pretty cool.
The only reason I have anything to do with this dumb piece of crap is because Jason and Melissa are so excited about
Brendan
it.
Duck.
Whoa.
So after all that, do I think Dickie has spoiled the Mighty Mighty Bosstones' legacy? No, I don't. Of course not. Their legacy is fine, albeit with an asterisk. I think it's funny that Dickie went full MAGA. Like, what a comedic career trajectory. You couldn't write a script so strange. Going from underground DIY hardcore to two-tone ska boy to mainstream superstar to announcer of one of the biggest late night shows of our generation to full-on RFK supporter is wild. Not to mention, during his time as a musician, he was socially conscious and progressive. Then to choose RFK's knob to slob all over, of all people, after all of that, is incredibly ironic, hypocritical, and baffling. Out of one side of his mouth, he preaches unity and how politicians are trying to divide us for their power and greed. And out of the other side of his mouth, he's bootlicking RFK. I'm so confused. It's peak comedic cinema. Bless his poor misguided heart. They have a storied, one-of-a-kind, 40-year saga of a career that can never be taken away no matter how many diseases reemerge. Their contributions to ska and punk rock will not be erased because Dickie went crazy. Now that they're done, he's free to go bananas and it not be tied to the band whatsoever. That's a win-win.
Don't get into show business, Josie. Don't spend your life being dragged down by projects that you'd lose interest in and have to sneak away from.
Brandon!
I wish the band didn't have to break up over it though. I don't think his RFK endorsement is enough to banish him from the band completely. He may get relentless pushback for his views and for his ties to a goofy politics man, as he should. But the band and the fans of the band's music shouldn't have to be the ones to take the brunt of the shot. Is it a bummer to see lifelong best friends throw it all away? Yeah, totally. Of course it is. I can totally understand that fans of the band are definitely sad to see their favorite band go through a messy breakup so late into their careers. But you gotta admit, it is pretty funny.
I'm Mr. King Dice. I'm the gamest in the land. I never play nice. I'm the devil's right-hand man.